Association for hosting the event this evening. It's a pleasure to see the active people involved in the election this year. I think the media has been tremendous in terms of getting people involved and people aware about our issues. I think Ward 4 here definitely has some growing pains, and we're going to be seeing more growing pains as our population increases. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Chad Novak, and I'm a professional accountant, a chartered professional accountant, formerly CMAs. They merged and became the new profession. I live here in Regina just about 20 years now in total. I grew up in Moose Jaw, just down the road. So anybody that's aware of Moose Jaw knows that when you're growing up in Moose Jaw, you grow up in Regina, because there was literally nothing to do in the 80s. So I pretty much can say I've been here all my life. My background in terms of my career history, I've been kind of involved with a number of different organizations over the years. One of my most notable career options was income tax GST auditor, Revenue Canada. No booze, hold the booze. I enjoyed that job because it was something that helped me learn to interpret legislation, which is very important as a counselor. You have to understand how lawyers speak and how they write these these acts, and that's something that's very important. I think that's a tremendous asset for myself. Something that I've very proudly to have done over the last 4 years since I last ran in the council, or in the election. I ran in 2012 for mayor. Running now for city council because I feel that it's something that is more achievable, and it gives me an opportunity to prove to you what I can do as your city councilor. And hopefully down the road, if I am successful on October 26th and continually 2 or 3 terms down the road, maybe I'll run for mayor again. So what I've done in that time is I formed an organization called the Saskatchewan Taxpayers Advocacy Group. And what that is basically consider it the Canadian Taxpayers Federation for individuals such as yourself. And that's something that we need in our city, actually in Canada, because that's something that we don't quite have is an opportunity to get those voices heard. We see these kind of groundswells once in a while, the situation with the mosque along Assiniboine Avenue. That's a good example. We had a great groundswell of people, but that only happens every so often, and it's random people. So this is kind of helping bringing that into a formation. Now, why should you vote for me versus my competitors? Nothing against my competitors. I find that on a personal level, they're great people. I think that that's something that I've heard a lot on the campaign trail. People are very impressed with the slate of candidates we have. We have 4 great people. I'd like to consider myself one of them, obviously. The one thing that I do bring to the table is that my campaign is 100% self-financed. I have not accepted and I will not accept donations from corporations. If individuals want to help out, great, but I'm not taking, because this way there's no perception of a conflict of interest. I will mention, I know in City Hall this isn't necessarily something that our councillor will like, but one of the things that I will tell you on our current councillor is that he's accepted donations from 100% of them are development related. We don't need development related people at City Hall. And that's one thing I think that is very important that you are aware of. It's very difficult to win at City Hall because they try and censor you and that stuff. 25% of that campaign donations last time was also from one corporation that is now getting all of the land along Tower Road is now being fast-tracked and developed for their development, just so that that's on the record. Something I would like you to do, there's a Q&A a little bit, is feel free to ask all of us where our donations come from. I think that's something that you deserve to know, and we all have to disclose that after the election, but it's just as good to know now. And I think you deserve to know that information. It kind of gives you an idea of where their interests might lie if they get elected at City Hall. I've been open and available to taxpayers through the entire last 4 years, and I've been actually advocating on behalf of taxpayers for over a decade now, since I began in 2006, 2007, back in Moose Jaw. And one thing that I very much pride myself in is that I'm always open, always available, except for 3 in the morning. I might want to sleep, but I have my website, chadforregina.com. I've got Facebook, I've got email, I've got my cell phone. I'm always available that way. I want you to feel comfortable with contacting me. As I've said on the campaign trail, win or lose on October 26th, I'm still here for you. Obviously I would love to have a paid position to do that, but I will still do it. I've been doing it for the last 4 years, and I very much enjoy it, and it's been a volunteer basis all that time. So that's something that I truly enjoy doing. I want to also make sure that you understand that this is, I know counselor can be a part-time job for some people are realtor, some people are different things, and they take this as their part-time job. I want this to be my full-time gig, because I enjoy it that much. I mean, it's not the greatest pay, it's like $30,000 a year, which is, you know, I mean, it's a good pay for some people in our city, but you know, as a full-time job, that's a hard thing, especially with someone with a certified management accountant designation. But I'm okay with that. I believe that much in doing what I can for everybody, and I think that should tell you a lot. Specifically on my campaign platform, I've got a few things that I wanted to make sure that we get a hold of at City Hall. I want to make sure that the overall theme is about quality of life. One of them is our water bills. Right now, you're paying $50 per month, even if you didn't even use your water, which is absolutely crazy because in Saskatoon, for example, it's only $30 per month. So we're paying $240 a month or $240 a year extra compared to what they are just 2 hours out north of us. That's unacceptable. We can, and what needs to happen is also take off the recycling fees. Recycling can be financed through the landfill program, which currently receives about a $15 million surplus every year, and the program costs us around about $5 million. So there's no reason why that can't be funded through that and save you guys $9.25 every month. Total savings just on your water bill alone is $330, and it's easily achievable tomorrow. So I think those are things that, as an accountant, I see those and I say, why haven't we done that already? I don't know if you're aware, not many people are, in terms of our property taxes, when you look at the residential versus commercial has one amazing deal in our city, which is why we have so much business coming to our city, because they're only paying $2.12 for every dollar that you pay as a resident, whereas the national average is about $2.83, or about 33% difference. This is huge. And it's what we can do is, there's a couple of things that can happen, is we can reduce the residential rates, increase the commercial rates, or a combination thereof. And I think the combination is obviously favored between all of us, because I think that as long as we're making sure that we're getting the right average out there, that's important, and that can save us a lot of money. Can't give you dollars and cents figures, because that's, again, up in the air, and that's something that we can talk about at City Council. Transit. Something that desperately needs to happen is the transit budget needs to be improved. Something that's been lacking in the last 10, 15 years is the transit budget has continually stayed stagnant. I know they just received an influx of capital funding from the federal government, but that's strictly capital, and that's not operating, and that's something that needs to change. It's the only way that we're going to make sure that we have a better transit system. I want to make sure that our transit system is something that is equivalent or better than your current mode of transportation. Because I mean, I'll admit, I don't ride the bus because I don't want to wait 2 hours to get downtown, and that's what some people are doing right now. So they need to fix that. And finally, a couple of other things, the downtown and hospital parking. We need to increase the off-street parking options. This includes parkades, things like that. Hospital desperately needs some kind of parking solution. I know it's not technically in Ward 4, but as a city councilor, that is something that you are still responsible for, is improving, because every one of us in Ward 4, I'm sure we use downtown a lot, or we go to the hospital a lot, and those things are important to every one of us. So that's and I've already been in discussions with partners to talk about making that happen. I've been in discussions with them since last election. So they're ready and willing to go. It's just that we need a city council that's ready to actually entertain the idea. Two more things is the cost and practicality of moving all or a majority of our trains from within the city limits to outside the city limits. That's something that had been explored back in the 70s and 80s. It was taken out after interest rates rose through the roof and the federal government pulled their support and everything like that. We're in a position now, again, that we can do that. There's actually federal legislation that allows us to ask Ottawa for 50% of that funding to have that happen. And it's not a crazy idea, and it's not something that would cost a lot of money. We need to look at that. Just the non-financial benefits are huge. So I think those are things we need to look at. And finally, better long-term planning, something that is desperately needed in the city. We can look at Victoria Avenue overpass, for example. Here's a situation where in 2015, January 2015, City Council said that we need, there was a laundry list of items. The Victoria Avenue overpass was number 9 on the list of top 10. And what they were supposed to be doing was applying to the federal government for funding. Somehow something got missed somewhere along the line. I've asked us at City Council, they haven't really given us a straight answer. But at the end of the day, you and I are paying $10 million, which is 100% of the funding for that project, when it could have cost us 1/3 of that. Someone dropped the ball at City Hall. No one's willing to admit it. At the end of the day, this is a situation where long-term planning could have fixed that. There was no reason that I know of that overpass needed to be done today, that they couldn't have waited until it was done properly. So I want to thank you for your time this evening, and I encourage you to listen to everybody else here, and hopefully we have some good questions at the end.
Good evening. My name